My parents ignored me my entire life, so I asked my grandparents to walk me down the aisle instead. Somehow my parents got angry, called me ungrateful, and messaged my relatives to skip my wedding. Growing up in my house, I 27 female was never a priority for my parents. Everything was all about my older sister 30, and it used to hurt. But I eventually made my peace with it because at least I had my grandparents and they looked out for me and even tried to get my parents to do the same. Although pointlessly, but at least they tried. Anyway, after a certain point, I pretty much got used to being ignored by my parents. No matter what I achieved or what I wanted, they only did the bare minimum for me and expected me to be grateful. After I graduated high school, I expected them to at least help me out with my college situation. But even with that, they refused because they had already spent a bunch of money for my sister to go to college, and they didn't think that it was worth it to spend that same kind of money on me as well, because it was going to burn a hole in their pockets. They offered to help me take out and co-sign a student loan, but I turned it down and I asked my grandparents for help, and they paid for my expenses. So, relationships between all of us have always been strained. It's been my parents and my sister on one side, and me and my grandparents on the other side. Anyway, for the past couple of years, I haven't really been in touch with the other side. We do meet on the holidays occasionally whenever I can make it, which is not very frequently. And at other family events, we do run into each other, but that's about it. So obviously, we're not very close. And that's why after I got engaged, I asked my grandparents to walk down the aisle. I asked them about it a few months ago, and in 3 weeks, I'm getting married. I did invite my parents and my sister only because I did not want to seem petty, and also because I knew that if they were not invited, they would make a huge stink about it, and I didn't want any drama before my wedding. But that was not enough for my parents. A couple of days ago, they called me up and asked me when I was going to ask them to walk me down the aisle. I was pretty confused because I don't even know what gave them that impression. They were only going to be here as guests and nothing else. And I told them that I had already asked my grandparents to walk me down the aisle. I was not intending on asking them. I was already mentally prepared for a confrontation as soon as they had asked that question. And of course, they were infuriated that I had decided not to ask them. They told me that I was being ungrateful that they had raised me. And I ended up laughing it off because they had barely raised me. It had mostly been my grandparents because I spent most of my childhood with them. Since my parents were too busy with my sister to even notice that I was hardly around, I could have literally moved in with them, and they wouldn't have noticed or cared. And I told them that they were really foolish to have expected me to ask them to walk me down the aisle because it was my wedding day. It was a big deal, and I did not want them to be too involved in anything. I told them that they should just count themselves lucky that they were even invited. And then I hung up because I did not want to drag this out. I expected that to be the end of it, but then of course they couldn't just let it go. So they decided to go around telling everyone what a terrible and ungrateful daughter I was. A bunch of people from the family reached out to me with screenshots of messages that they have been receiving from my parents telling them not to attend my wedding and support them instead because apparently I've been very ungrateful and they cannot let me just get away with this without any consequences, and I need to be put in my place. It's a very insulting message in general for me, apart from everything that they said, because first off, they believe that they can actually stop people from attending my wedding, and I think that's definitely overestimating their own importance in the family. Everybody pretty much knows that they never treated me well, but I just kept my mouth shut about it out of decency and nothing else. And more importantly, the fact that they actually thought that they could shame me, a grown adult woman, by sending out messages like this and bad-mouthing me. It's just so stupid. In the beginning, when I first started receiving these messages, I really thought that I wouldn't respond and give them the satisfaction of getting a reaction out of me. But then even my fiancé received this message. It was annoying enough when they had been reaching out to the rest of our family and getting them involved for no reason. But my fiancé is where I draw the line. He knows everything about my family and my relationship with my parents. But even then, it was really embarrassing. And so I decided that I was going to put an end to this once and for all. I had been patient my entire life. I had tried to ignore the crap that they've put me through, but I just couldn't do this anymore. So 2 days back, I finally snapped, and I put up a post on social media basically just exposing everything about them. It was a pretty well-known fact already, and I had never really been one for airing dirty laundry in public, but this time it was necessary. So I spoke about my childhood, how they treated me all my life, how my sister was always the golden child for them, and why exactly my grandparents were going to be walking down the aisle. Basically everything that I have spoken about so far and more. And then I spoke about recent events, their phone call, the messages that they have been sending to everyone else, and how I had had the dignity not to respond until now, but they've taken my silence for cowardice and have even dragged my fiancé into this. And that is something that I cannot tolerate. So I just wanted to put this out, and that's how I ended the post. It was basically just to put them in their place in their words, but I didn't imagine that I would actually end up costing them so much. I received a call from my sister earlier today because she is the only one that I haven't blocked so far. That's not because I have any feelings of sisterly love towards her. It's only because I forgot. Anyway, she tried to call me several times and I was about to block her. But on the final try, I decided to answer the phone out of curiosity. And I'm very lucky that I did, because as soon as I picked up, she started telling me that I was a horrible human being, that I had ruined everybody's life, and that I needed to fix what I had done immediately. She sounded hysterical, and it took me a couple of minutes to figure out what she was even talking about because I really had no clue. So apparently, according to what she told me, my dad was in talks with an investor who was about to come on board and take his company to new levels. He's a pretty well-known guy in my dad's field of work, and it would have been amazing for his company to have somebody like him on board. Unfortunately, the deal is now falling through because somehow he got to see my post. Apparently, his secretary is a friend of one of my fiancé's cousins. I had never even imagined that this was something that would happen. I didn't even know about the deal taking place because, of course, it's not like my parents tell me about these things, and apparently my fiancé's cousin had mentioned this incident in the whole post to her friend while gossiping, and that's how they made that connection. So I really think that this is something that was meant to happen, and I don't really feel sorry about any of this. So I told my sister that I was not going to fix anything because I think this is what they deserve. She tried to tell me that this was going to ruin everybody's life because this deal was going to be a huge thing for the family and the company. And since she was next in line to inherit the company, this was going to be bad for her as well. And she really wanted me to think about that. But I told her that I really didn't care, and I hung up. So Ida now for causing a business deal for my family to fall through with a post exposing them. Update 1. Hey, so thank you to everyone who commented on my post. It was really nice of you guys to say such supportive things. I think I have made up my mind. I don't need to feel sorry about whatever I have done. I was just honest about everything that I have been through, and I think it was about time that I spoke up. So I don't see anything to feel sorry about in that. Also, there were a lot of questions about why exactly I had even invited my parents to the wedding in the first place when I clearly don't get along well with them. And to be honest, the only reason that I have put up with them so far is only because I thought there was a certain kind of image that I had to portray for the rest of the family. I know that I have mentioned in my previous post that everybody sort of had an idea about what kind of treatment I received from my family. But even then, I felt like I had to protect some image and reputation by pretending as if everything was fine. I can't help it. I am a bit conscious about what people think. And so even though people had an idea, I never spoke about it publicly. I never brought it up or complained about it. And I always try to keep things as civil as possible between me and my family. But this was just the last straw. And that's why I decided to finally let go of the anxiety that I had about what people would say about this becoming fodder for gossip, and finally decided to speak up and stand up for myself. It took me a while to do something very basic. But to be honest, I'm proud of myself for taking a stand for myself even if it's so late. I'm finally letting go and trying to do what is right for me without caring about what everybody else will say or think. And I think it's a great thing that they did something so stupid because it gave me the incentive to go out and finally tell everyone what I had been going through. And it's quite a relief, to be very honest. It feels like a huge burden has been lifted off my chest, and I'm finally able to speak about everything freely, instead of hiding it and pretending as if everything is fine. So yeah, obviously they will not be attending the wedding anymore if they have any pride left. And even apart from that, I don't think they want to attend the wedding either because as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure that I cost them a huge business deal. I spoke to my fiancé about it, I told him everything about his cousin who saw the post and gossip about it, and it somehow found the right person, and he found it hilarious. And to be honest, it is pretty funny because I'm pretty sure that my parents did not think that this was going to backfire so badly. And he spoke to his cousin as well, and she apologized for gossiping, but I told her that it was not necessary at all. We just asked her to keep in touch with her friend, the secretary, regarding the whole situation with the business deal and keep us filled in on whatever is going on, and she's done that. She has told us that apparently my family has been trying very hard to get him back on board, but he's very reluctant to do so because he had no idea that their personal life was so messy, and that doesn't sit well with him. My family has even been trying to tell him that I'm the one who's lying. But they can't exactly do that because along with my post, I had also added screenshots of them reaching out to other relatives. So they literally cannot lie their way out of this. And they cannot gaslight people into making me the bad guy. And even if they manage to do that, somehow I don't think this guy is going to break because at the end of the day, there must be some truth to what I'm saying. And I'm pretty sure that that's what he thinks as well. At least that's what my fiance's cousin has told us according to his secretary. And I really hope that he does not change his mind about the business deal because as far as I'm concerned, my parents do not deserve this, and even my sister does not. I was feeling sorry about all of it. But I've spoken to my fiance, I've spoken to my grandparents, and I've even spoken to my friends about all of this, and all of them have had the same thing to say, that there is no reason for me to feel sorry about any of it. The only thing that I have done is something that I should have done very long ago. I have taken a stand for myself, and I should be proud of myself if anything. So that's what I'm doing. I'm staying proud of myself. I'm not going to let myself feel guilty about not letting them walk all over me, especially when I'm about to get married in a couple of weeks. It has been a couple of days, and since I've blocked them, they haven't had any way to contact me, and I'm hoping that they stay away from me because I really don't want to spoil my vibe because of them right now. Update 2. So it's been 2 weeks since my last update, and so far my parents and my sister have not been able to reach out to me because I have blocked them. Like I had mentioned in my previous update, the business deal fell through and it was pretty bad for all of them. I pretty much forgot about it until recently. But this morning, I received a message from an unrecognized number saying that I had to do something about what I had damaged and that I needed to fix my mistakes or else I was going to pay for this. It was a pretty threatening message, and it was not difficult for me to ascertain who it was coming from. I obviously blocked the number and I moved on with my day. But then, when I came back home, my parents and my sister were waiting for me outside my house. Thankfully, my fiancé was not back home by then. He was still at work, so I got to deal with it in person. I wouldn't have liked for him to see this go down because it was pretty embarrassing for me to have my family turn up like that. And they were only here to argue with me. They were here to pick a fight, even though they had already lost when they lost their business deal. I don't really know what they were expecting. But anyway, when I saw them, I immediately took my phone out and I started to dial so I could threaten them with the cops, and I could tell them that they needed to get out because I had no interest in speaking to them. And I knew that if we ended up getting into a conversation, or whatever it was, inevitably going to end in a fight. And I did not have the time or energy for that. But my sister got very aggressive. She got all up in my face, and she snatched my phone from me and told me that there was no way that I was going to get out of this one. She said that I needed to fix my mistakes and that she was not going to let this go unless I spoke to the guy and I did something about the damage that I had caused. She started lecturing me about how much hard work had been put into the company and into the business deal. And now it had all gone to waste just because of me and my pettiness. And I literally had to stop her right then and there and get her to acknowledge the fact that it was not my pettiness that cost the company so much. It was our parents who did that. They made the situation bad for themselves by picking a fight with me for no reason. So if anything, they had to introspect and understand that this was their own fault, not mine. Because all I had done was stand up for myself. I did not start anything with them. It's they who did. And of course, they immediately got defensive about the whole thing. They started telling me that I should have dropped it and that they were only upset because I did not ask them to walk me down the aisle. And instead, when I had, and asked my grandparents to do so, when it was so unconventional, and it was an insult for them to be invited but not be part of something so significant. By then, I was already pretty irritated. So I told them to their face that they had never treated me well growing up. So I did not regret anything that I had done and that they should have been grateful that I had even invited them to the wedding after how they had treated me my entire life. I had always been a second-class citizen in my own home, and my sister had been their only priority. So they should not be surprised by this. And it's shocking that they think that I owe them anything. I don't even owe them an explanation. But even then, when they called me, I did answer. And most importantly, they should know that so far, the only reason I had kept everything to myself was because I did not want the family to think badly of them or me. And I wanted to keep our drama private. But they are the ones who dragged my fiancé into this. And they are the reason I had to finally speak up about it and put it all out in public. It was their own fault. So they cannot pretend to be the victims right now. They brought this on themselves. And I don't feel sorry about anything that's happened. Then I grabbed my phone back from my sister and I told all of them that if they did not leave, then I really would call the cops. I already had the number dialed. I was not going to give them a second chance because I was done entertaining this nonsense. I could not keep this up anymore. I was already tired after work and I just wanted to unwind and relax for a bit. Besides, I also had wedding prep to get through, so it's not like I have time to waste. They had already ruined a significant portion of my life. I was not going to allow them to be involved in this anymore. And I told them that I did not want to see them again, and I did not want to speak to them again, and I was just done. I did not want anything to do with them. I had put up with enough. And by then I was screaming at them. So I guess they realized that I was serious about all of this and that I was not the same person that I used to be before this incident that they could just push around. So eventually they made the decision to leave me alone. And I think it was a good one because I think if they hadn't left, I would have called the cops and things would have turned much uglier than how they ended. Anyway, about an hour later, my fiancé came back home and I told him everything that had happened, and he told me that I had done the right thing by threatening to call the cops, and in fact, he would have actually encouraged me to call the cops regardless of the consequences. He told me that they might show up at the wedding as well, and I really don't want them to, but there is no way that I can prevent them from doing so either. We have already done as much as we can about the security. We can increase it. But then, that will be a lot of hassle, and it'll be more expensive as well. The most that we can do about it is just hope for the best, and even if they do show up, we're going to ask security to keep an eye out for them. They're not dangerous or anything, they are just very annoying and I don't want them around for that reason, so I don't think that it should be a big deal. But anyway, since we are so close to the wedding, I don't want anything untoward to happen before that. However, given their behavior right now, I really don't know what they are going to get up to because they seem pretty desperate. I'm pretty sure that they are very upset with me and they can go to any lengths to get back at me for costing them that deal. And I am very sure that they will do anything to create more drama to try and ruin my big day, to try and make everything about themselves as they have done so far. It's honestly been quite exhausting so far. Every time I think about them and whatever has happened until now, it just makes me very upset and angry because I cannot believe that even after I have cut them out of my life, they are still trying to get back into it and make things hard for me. To be very honest, I am considering filing for a restraining order against them and using that message that they had sent earlier today as proof of them threatening me because I really don't want them around anymore at any point, ever. And I think going after them legally will be the best way to go about this situation. So anyway, all that I'm leaving for after the wedding. Right now, I just want the whole wedding situation to go smoothly, and that's it. Keeping my fingers crossed, there are no problems there. Update 3. So, about a week ago, my fiancé and I finally got hitched, and thankfully everything went smoothly. There were no problems, and my parents or my sister did not even try to show up, which was a very pleasant surprise for us, because to be very honest, my fiancé and I had both expected them to turn up and try to create some drama. That's why we had been very careful with our security and had warned them about my family. But thankfully, they did not need to be on high alert. We were very happy about the whole thing. And for the past couple of days, we have forgotten about everything that happened before. We have been trying to enjoy our honeymoon phase since in a couple of days we will be leaving for our honeymoon. Anyway, we have decided to put the whole restraining order thing on hold because right now there's no point in worrying about it. But that doesn't mean that they have let go of the situation, which I knew was going to happen anyway. I knew that just because they did not show up at the wedding, it did not mean that they had forgotten and they were willing to let this go. I was pretty sure that they were going to lay low for the wedding, and then they would get back to bothering me. And that's exactly what happened even today. I received an email probably from my sister saying that my mother was very upset about everything that has happened so far. And she said that my mom has been miserable to the extent where she has been day drinking. And my mom really doesn't encourage drinking in the first place. So it would have to be a pretty bad situation for her to take to day drinking. And apparently my father has also been suffering. He already has a lot of heart problems, and this has made everything much worse. So if not for any other reason, The least I can do, as their daughter, is at least take their health problems into consideration and at least apologize. And I don't know what to say to that. I'm pretty sure that she is lying about this because the last time that I saw them before the wedding, when they showed up at the house and started to pick a fight with me, they did not seem very upset. They only seemed angry at me, and I really don't think that I am that important to them that they will start drinking over me and start having heart problems because of me. If anything, it's probably about the business deal falling through. It has nothing to do with me. So it's not because of me, it's about the deal. And if that's the problem, then there is nothing that I can do about it. And again, they brought this on themselves. I don't understand why she keeps making this about me and tries to make me feel guilty. I don't think they care for an apology from me. That is really not going to fix anything for them. Update 4. Hi everyone. So it's been close to 2 months since I came back from my honeymoon. And a couple of weeks ago, my husband and I finally decided to file for a restraining order against my family because we thought that things were getting way out of hand. Now, for a while, they had only been bothering us by sending us emails and messages from random numbers, and we didn't even bother to change our contact info because it would be too much of a hassle to do so, and they were not really getting on our nerves or anything. We were just ignoring them to the best of our abilities. But then a few weeks back, while I was coming back home from work, I noticed that a car was following me around. And after some digging, I realized that it was my sister's car. Soon enough, she started lurking at the places near my workplace, and it was getting very creepy, and I remembered the text from before as well, so I told my husband about it. We spoke to a lawyer and we decided to file for the restraining order. And a couple of days back it came through. So for 2 years, unless they want to get into trouble legally, they will not be showing up anywhere around me or my husband. And I'm very grateful for that. I think this is something that we should have done a very long time back, and I'm very happy that I finally did it. I don't know if this is going to stop them or not because what they really want out of me is an apology at this point, but they're not getting one and that's why they were upset. But they can stay upset. It hardly matters to me, quite frankly.